We continue to focus this morning on the events in Baltimore last night. All hell broke loose starting at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon when kids get out of school, start throwing rocks at police officers, and then it just deteriorated to the point where by nightfall it looked like large parts of the city were just burning to the ground. If you watched the Fox News coverage as I did yesterday, you saw Doug McKelway in his suit because he'd been at the funeral, ends up now being moved into riot coverage. Doug is with us now. He's returned home after spending a long night in Baltimore. Doug, let me just open it up. What were your thoughts having seen the things that you saw in the last 24 hours?
Brian, hey, great to talk to you guys. Depressed. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, my ultimate thought about all this is that the culture and the society, the fabric of society decays from many parts. It's not just one single thread, and we're witnessing it there. There's so many problems that contributed to this situation, so many cultural factors, so many socio-pathologies, and you could spend days talking about them and not come to any permanent resolution. That's my ultimate.
May I ask you to sort of repeat a story that you told yesterday, that many people that you talk to on the street say that the poor relations in that community between residents and the police have its root going many years back, maybe even to the administration of Mayor Martin O'Malley.
That's right. Yeah, I spoke to a few people at the funeral last night, and these were not participants in the ceremony or bigwigs. These are average guys, average black guys living in Baltimore who've been there for a long time, because I wanted to get that perspective. I spoke to one guy, he's 66 years old, living now in an assisted living facility, who, when I asked him, what do you think of police behavior in Baltimore, he just started letting loose with a flurry of expletives, and he was a very reasonable man. He was very pleasant, very nice to me, until we broached this subject, and then it just started flying forth. He described one anecdote, and for which I have subsequently gotten holy hell on Twitter for enlightening people about this, because they say it's illegal to carry prescription medicines in your pocket. He was on a prescription medicine for pain relief, and he said he would go to work in the morning, rather than take the whole bottle in the prescription bottle as prescribed by law. He didn't say that part of it.
Okay.
He would wrap up 4 prescribed pills in a tissue and put them in his pocket. I do the same thing when I'm on prescription medication, by the way. But he said in the early 1990s, during the O'Malley administration, when he noticed a shift in policing there, that it became much, much more aggressive. And oftentimes he would be stopped for no reason whatsoever, no ostensible reason, patted down, frisked. Happened to him on this occasion where he was going to work with these 4 pills in his pocket. Instantly thrown in jail. Spent the next 9 months trying to resolve this case in and out of court, a lot of expense to him. Ultimately, the case was null prost. That's the kind of experience that leaves you with a very, very sour taste in your mouth about police and what he perceived to be as abuse. I spoke to a lot of people who had not similar stories, but similar experiences with aggressive policing. And it's left them very, very angry and frustrated and feeling as though they're being singled out.
Yeah. And listen, I don't think anyone thinks that there isn't a drug problem in Baltimore. I saw a report the other day that I think it's one of the top heroin capitals of our country. But the problem isn't going to be solved by a guy with 4 prescription drugs, pills in his pocket wrapped in tissue paper. But the disconnect, I think, is that the police are, in those cases, and also yesterday, the police are always acting under the orders of the elected officials.
Right.
On
that subject, Larry, I ask myself, where is our Winston Churchill? Compassion in peace, aggression in war. In Baltimore and in many major cities, it's precisely the opposite. Aggression in peace, passiveness in war.
Well, and can you, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I want people to hear specifically what kind of passiveness you witnessed last night, because we were dumbfounded by the police not doing what we thought they should have been doing, which was arresting people and trying to stop these things. I'm not blaming the police. They are acting under orders. What happened?
I was at the press conference with the chief of police last night at midnight in Baltimore. What he was saying, what was coming out of his mouth, disconnected with the reality on the street of what we saw on the street there, where police were standing back, passively letting people loot some of these stores. I saw guys walking down the street with handfuls of liquor bottles, as many as unopened liquor bottles as they could carry, handing them out to their friends. And these are the mom and pop stores that are part of their community. That CVS that was looted and went up in flames later in the afternoon and into the early evening is an island in a sea of blight. It's the place where the people in that neighborhood go to get their prescription medicines, to get their diapers when the kid needs a diaper at night, to get the infant formula, the cold medications. Now it's gone. This is self-destruction.
It's almost like what your mom used to say. This is why we can't have nice things. You have a nice part of the community, and it gets destroyed like this.
Right.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's amazing. So your sense of it is calm going to be the order going forward now that the National Guard is there?
I certainly think that would help. I have no confidence in the leadership of that city. My sense is that the mayor of Baltimore is completely in over her head, has not a clue. And I get back to this concept again of aggression in peace and compassion in war. It should be just the opposite. Treat the citizens compassionately in peace, and then get very aggressive when they get out of line. To me, in Baltimore, it's just the opposite. Can I throw in one more thing?
Of course. Absolutely.
About the drug. My belief is, and this is very, very controversial, is that all of this stuff has its roots in the long-fought and long-lost war on drugs that America is waging. And I sort of saw the light on all this stuff by reading arguably the greatest economist of the 20th century, the Nobel Prize-winning Milton Friedman, who was a conservative, who was a libertarian. Most of all, he was a free market capitalist. He said, and this is not a direct quote, that the government's job is to propel drug cartels into greater things. That sounds contradictory. Let me read a quote from Milton Friedman. He was asked what would happen if you legalized drugs. He said, and this is a direct quote, "I see America with half the number of prisons, half the number of prisoners, 10,000 fewer homicides a year, inner cities in which there's a chance for these poor people to live without being afraid for their lives." He goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
I don't think you could do it in one fell swoop, but that the war on drugs, basically what he was saying is that this is capitalism at work.
Right.
And when
this
the
is
government
market economics.
interdicts drugs, what happens is the supply goes down, the price goes up. Who gets enriched? The drug cartels, enabling them to buy more equipment, buy more weapons, empower themselves, pay the low-level drug mules like Freddie Gray more money, and it goes on and on. The more you crack down on it, the more the price goes up, the more you enrich the cartels.
Yeah.
That's not a political statement. That is a purely economic statement, and America has to come to grips with it.
Even William F. Buckley eventually agreed with that. It'll be interesting, Doug. I appreciate your comments. There are a lot of angles to this. That's one of them. I wouldn't be surprised if Rand Paul makes his way up to Baltimore to try to talk about these things as well. Thanks for joining us.
Great work there yesterday, buddy.
Thank you, Brian. Good to talk to you guys.